How are you? Oh, yes. When do we hand it? Sure, water. No. Wish they had them in my set. Yeah. I mean, she still doesn't quite understand it.
How are you? See you? Happy New Year? We had our bonding oversight the other day, but I think our high school district is reaching out after the Have you been asked?
Not me.
But the individual members have, but the board itself has. It's not on your agenda.
No, it isn't. They haven't been asked.
Well, you know, they did not individually, but wrote it.
We'll talk about it after.
Yeah, I mean, they positive.
Okay.
How you doing? Good. Here, huh? Oh. No dozing over. Oh, I did too. I was at a meeting
We have
at the park.
a video and a PowerPoint.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh.
I got up super early. I should have checked the news. I didn't even check. I was
Was your holiday?
this time you gotta keep a raincoat on that car. Oh, probably. Yeah.
Sorry. Whoever's do you know who's impersonating me? But you are aware that I am being impersonated.
Oh, I see her. I see her.
Sorry about that. Let me just see. Sorry about that. I'm not on Wi-Fi here yet, so it may actually. There you go. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, we are reconvening to regular meeting with nothing to report out of closed session. We're going to be starting with the flag salute. We have several students here. If you would please lead us, and then we'll ask a couple questions and get to know you a little better. If you could please go to the podium, yes. Thank you. Please stand for the flag salute.
Put your right hand over your heart. Please salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions about some of your interests, some of your favorite hobbies, and your involvement at your school. So let me just start by reading each of your names, and then I'll start with the questions, okay? We have Giselle Espino Huerta. Hello.
Hi.
We have Danae Ramirez.
Here.
Hello. We have Leslie Sanchez.
Hi.
Hi. We have Megan Ugo. Oh, she's not here. Okay. And Geraldine Gabriela Segura.
Hi.
And did I miss one of you?
Yeah,
What's your name, please?
William Hofstede.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here. So
Hi.
So if you wouldn't each mind sharing with us really quickly what your interests are and what's your involvement at school.
My interest is math. What? Oh, and my student council job is the president.
Oh.
And in school, I give the speeches for the student council meetings.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is William Hofstede. I like to read, and I'm the vice president, and I make the announcements on the loudspeaker.
Oh, cool.
Hi, my name is Giselle. My student council job is secretary. I take notes in the meetings and I take attendance. And my interest in school is social studies.
Great, thank you.
I am interested in math and social studies and ELD and reading. And I am spirit leader of the school, which we make up spirit days in our school.
Oh, that's exciting.
I'm Geraldine. I'm Gabriela Segura, and something I like about school is like art and ELA. And my job in school is green team, which means like I help with all the recycling programs, and
Great, and do each of you just want to share who you brought with you today?
Yes. Okay.
Whatever order you want.
Today I am here with my mom and my little sister and my teacher.
I'm here with my mom and my little sister and my teacher and my principal.
I'm here with my mom and my brother and my teacher, Miss Haley. I am here with my mom and my brother and Mrs. Haley, Mrs. Houston, and Mrs. Johnstone.
I'm here with my mom, my teacher, and Miss Haley.
Thank you so much for being here and for leading us in the flag salute. We know that you all have a lot of homework to do, and so you can stay for as long as you want, but if you need to go, we understand, and thank you so much for coming. Gracias por venir a todos. Thank you. Okay.
Go sit. Oh, around up here.
So we'll move on to roll call. Let the record reflect that all trustees are in attendance. And we'll be doing approval of agenda for January 16th, 2020.
Motion to approve the agenda?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approval of minutes, December 19th, 2019.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we'll be moving on to a recognition, a very special recognition that we have. We have Supervisor Carol Groom here. We are very excited to honor her. Supervisor, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium, we'll be reading your resolution.
Good evening, all of you.
Good evening. Okay. So I'll begin, and then maybe we go this way. Is that okay? Okay. Or maybe we'll go this way then instead. Okay. Resolution number 15-1920 in honor of Carol Groom from the Board of Trustees of the San Mateo Foster City School District, January 16, 2020. Whereas, I'm sorry. Whereas Carol Groom has demonstrated her leadership and commitment to the communities of San Mateo and Foster City through her work as both a council member of the City of San Mateo and a supervisor on the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, and
Whereas Carol Groom served 9 years on the San Mateo City Council, including 2 terms as mayor and on the San Mateo Planning and Public Works Commissions, and
Whereas Carol Groom was elected to the Board of Supervisors in June 2010 and has served as president in 2011, 2015, and 2019. And
Whereas Carol Groom has listened to and supported families and students in the San Mateo Foster City School District in San Mateo County through her legislative priorities, including expanded access to quality preschool and literacy initiatives, improved access to health care for all, environmental protections, and
Whereas since 2011, Carol Groom has worked with the San Mateo County Office of Education and Silicon Valley Community Foundation to increase the reading proficiency of third graders countywide through an initiative called the Big Lift. And
whereas Carol Groom has attended countless community meetings, including San Mateo Foster City School site and district functions, and
whereas Carol Groom has supported improved facilities, projects, and needed programming through her endorsement, and
I get the good paragraph. Whereas Carol Groom proposed a Measure K grant for the students of the San Mateo Foster City School District for $694,000, resulting in multiple benefits for the district schools, including increasing access to technology for learning at Title I schools, enhancing technology and books for science instruction at all 20 schools, expanding access to high-quality, relevant, and engaging literature at all 20 schools, and augmenting robust, diverse, and relevant school libraries at 6 schools.
therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees recognizes and appreciates Carol Groom for her passionate commitment to students and families through the County of San Mateo and in the San Mateo Foster City School District.
adopted by the governing board of the San Mateo Foster City School District at the regular meeting held on the 16th of January 2020. I want the following vote.
do I have a motion?
Motion.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I get to present.
There's some folks that need to come up, Diana Harlett. And
Take a picture
yes,
afterwards.
and we have several people who would like to have a photo with you. Yes.
Do you want to say something?
And the board, yes, it sees.
I'm facing this way. I know. Sorry, you two need to be on that side. We need to look at me like right here. This is always so hard. We're getting there. Okay, look at me. Okay, one more.
Absolutely, and I do want to thank the ladies who helped so much in drafting this beautiful resolution, so thank you so much.
Well, thank you all very much, and on behalf of my colleagues on the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, we will appreciate this. They will enjoy seeing it tomorrow and many days after. I'd also want to thank the voters of San Mateo County. If they had not passed Measure K, and if they had not agreed to reauthorize it for 20 more years, we wouldn't have this luxury of looking for needs in our community and being able to help, being able to answer some of those needs. And the beauty of Measure K is that we bring it right, yes, you're taxed, but we bring it right back into these local communities. And in this case, we brought it right back to the San Mateo Foster City School District. And I do want to thank Diana and one of my staff people, Tina Quiney, for doing all the legwork. I just come along at the very end. But thank you very much for this. This is really very, very nice of you to do this.
Thank you.
Okay. Should we move on? Before we move on, I just want to, again, thank you, Supervisor Groom, for being an incredible advocate for not just our students, but our communities and those most in need in our communities. I know I've personally seen you at, events supporting young people in politics, events supporting women in politics. So thank you for everything that you do as a supervisor, but all of those extra things that you do just as a leader in our community and someone committed to her values. Thank you. Okay, we will be moving on to statements. Public statements related to non-agenda topics. The San Mateo Foster City School Board cannot act upon any matter that has not been included and publicly posted on the agenda except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. The board may refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and/or where appropriate. Please limit your statements to 3 minutes.
Madam President, we have several speakers, so I would like to call forward 3 at a time. So Mr. Dan Denny, Ms. Lisa Denny, and Ms. Terry Falvey, if you could come forward.
Okay, I'm hoping, okay, hi. Do I just go? Is my timer? Okay. Hi, my name is Lisa Denny, and I'm a parent of a Parkside student who is in 2nd grade, who's here with me tonight. Tonight, as you can see, there is a few of us here attending, and I'm here to personally petition the district and the school board to follow through on your decision to build a middle years program at Parkside and provide the necessary resources to do so. I first want to acknowledge, though, that there are a lot of demands, and I understand there are a lot of demands within the school district. Parkside is not the only school, and there's a lot of competing demands. But what I have found in my time in being at Parkside and seeing the growth of the program is the struggle to follow through on the promise to make this a Montessori program. I personally feel that, well, my husband and I both came to that program because it was a Montessori-based program. We recognize and we have seen through the years the value of the teaching and the learning that she has had. but I'm very concerned about the growth and the ability for that program to maintain. We are seeing that our wonderful new principal, Nima Tahai, has been amazing, but the growth of this new middle years prospect is cannot solely rest on him. So tonight, I implore you to make a decision to follow through on your promise. We went through the process in separating the North Shore View from the Parkside School, and the promise was to make us a Montessori middle years with a middle years program. And if you cannot follow through on that promise, I don't know if we have to go back and reassess that decision. If you do so, we need the district's help to support the teachers and to support the parents because we cannot do it alone. So in closing, I truly believe now is the time. You have an active community, which is not even fully represented here, and you have us, and we'd like to work with you. Thank you. Did you want to?
Hello, I am here today as a brand new parent to a TK student at Parkside Montessori. Last year, I moved my family across the country from Chicago to California for a job opportunity. As such, I could have chosen almost any city in the Bay Area to call our home. Now, our daughter attended a private toddler to 8 Montessori in Chicago, and Montessori was just simply something I wasn't willing to give up on. I really love the tradition of Montessori. However, I also felt really strongly back then of what it meant to choose private over public, and I definitely would have preferred the latter, but it just didn't happen to materialize in Chicago. So when I read that there were 2 public Montessori programs in San Mateo, we immediately set our sights in the city. So what I'm saying is that I brought myself and my family and my taxpayer dollars to San Mateo for Parkside Montessori. I realized that there would be some trade-offs, large and small, between public and private Montessori, but I believe very strongly that a web of commitment from administration, district, and parent community can more than bridge any gap. Passionate people get things done, and I count myself as one of them. As now, I sit actively in meetings like the PTA or our principal's most recent State of the School meeting, and I'm seeing things feel a little out of balance with that 3-part web, and it sounds like this is a pattern. And I know that I'm new, and I know that my TKer is a really long way from the middle years program, but I'm also talking to parents who felt the same as me 5 years ago, faithful that it would happen as promised, trusting in a system which had committed and recommitted to this amazing and unique way of educating our children, and feeling hopeful about what the future would bring. This year, I've seen people who now look disappointed in the system, tired of hoping and fearful around what the lack of action will mean. You recently made a recommendation around our middle school's expansion, and it needs to be grown from the ground at Parkside. So I'm asking 2 things of you. How exactly does the district plan to support their own renewed recommendation, particularly when it comes to a budget that you're specifically setting aside for this program? Can you please share the figures that you've aligned to, such as for this big initiative, and can you guarantee that a plan to commit to these numbers for the long haul exists? A program like this cannot be funded in drips and drabs and cannot be funded year by year. That is not a plan. 2 is that we have asked for the commitment of a full-time TOSA dedicated to the growing middle years program at Parkside. Our amazing new principal has a lot on his plate, and I truly believe he needs to focus his efforts on the TK to K program that he came to nurture. We've heard the TOSA is in the future, and we need to know that this person will be dedicated to Parkside and only Parkside for 40 hours a week for at least the next 3 years. Can you please commit to exactly that? I know that there is something truly special within the halls of the school, and I still feel all the hope for the future of the TK through 5 and the middle years. But we absolutely need the district to hold up their end of the bargain for these kids. Thank you.
Hi, I'm the parent of the almost 8-year-old child who's in the 2nd grade at Parkside. I'm Dan Denny. I think on a really practical level, we feel a commitment's been made, but we need more substance around what that commitment is, and a sense of timing. When are we going to hear things? We know things don't happen overnight. It takes time to develop a plan. But if there is a plan being developed, if there's a plan in place, it needs to be shared with the parents at Parkside. Quite frankly, there is not a small amount of distrust based on promises that have been made in the past. I wasn't around for those. I thought I was coming into a program that was more developed than it is. We have a decision to make about where we send our child to school. If the program is going to continue to flounder as it is, then we have to ask, is this where we want to stay? I think that the communication about how this is going to happen, how decisions have been made, and what's going to happen in the future needs to improve between this board and the parents at Parkside, because there's a lot of views without a lot of hard information going around. So one of the things I'd like to come out of this meeting is a commitment for a path forward and how communication is going to be happening, what we're going to learn when, what the types of commitments that are going to be made to build the program. With the resources that are there now, you're asking an almost impossible effort from Mr. Tahai, and he needs help, and the program needs help. We all want it. I was relating to Ms. Watkins' husband that when I was in grad school at Stanford, I was surprised. It was where I first learned about Montessori, about how many of my fellow students there had gone up in a Montessori program in the mid-'80s. So they'd gone to school in the '60s when there weren't very many Montessori programs around. And yet an appreciable percentage of people that I saw year after year getting into elite graduate programs had a Montessori education. It's one of the big things that attracted us to this. It's an attractive thing. You have people all across the county coming to it. And, things need to improve, frankly. I hope they do. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Mary Hamilton, Marilyn Kaplan, and Rebecca McKahey.
Hi, my name is Mary Hamilton. I'm a parent of a kindergartner at Parkside, so we're brand new to Parkside. And I have 3-year-old twins who are also coming up in a couple years, hopefully in the TK in Parkside. I'm also here to petition the district and the school board to put a specific plan in place to execute on that renewed decision to expand Parkside into the middle years. I want to share a little bit of context about my background. Growing up, I went to a Montessori school, kindergarten through 4th grade. And I distinctly remember when I was in 4th grade, that last year there was one 6th grader in our school. And as I was a rising 5th grader, it looked like there were going to be 3 to 4 5th graders in that class. And so my parents made a difficult decision to pull me out of that school, though I was thriving and very happy there. And I moved to a parochial school where, frankly, I was not challenged. I was under-challenged compared to my Montessori education. The silver lining is in the years to come, that same school grew to a K-8 program. They now have 2 campuses. They're being featured on PBS next week in my hometown, Toledo, Ohio. And they're being recognized for their achievement in empowering children for life. I share this background because it really brings to the forefront for me in a very personal way the concerns I have that my children might face the same trajectory that I went through. If the district doesn't keep those promises that you've made, but also the hope that if the district is intentional and executes on this plan well, we have an amazing opportunity to create a visionary and an exceptional program. For me, I mentioned I'm new here, but I'm new to Parkside. We were in the North Shoreview Montessori Pre-K program, and I chose to come over. I think we were the only family that chose to come to Parkside because I saw that opportunity for growth, and I saw that expansion. And honestly, I was a little disappointed when I started hearing the stories of parents that said, we thought we were going to have this expansion too. And so, I want to stand up here. I know we've got some time, but I think the program has to start now, and I don't want my children to go through that same disappointment that I experienced. So what do we need to achieve success? We need that cohesive plan. It starts with providing a dedicated, district-funded, experienced Montessori TOSA to help coach us through this. We need to allocate funding that we know will be invested. We need to think about the facilities that will match that the program needs. And then we need, in real time today, funding for Montessori coaching, training for our teachers as we strive for this growth. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Marilyn Kaplan, and I'm a parent at Parkside Montessori. I have a 1st grade student and a rising kindergartner. I'm here tonight to petition the district and school board to follow through on their decision to build a middle years program at Parkside and provide the necessary resources to do so. It's very troubling to see what seems to be no attention or plan or funding given to the Parkside community for implementing a middle years program after having decided not to combine with North Shoreview. You can imagine why there are so many of us here tonight speaking based on past and current experience. We simply don't trust that our needs for an elementary school expansion and middle years program implementation are taken seriously. We think this way because of the lack of evidence of any real action being taken. To begin, we have to wonder what the point was of reintroducing this as a possibility in the fall of last year. Please reassure us that you're serious about our needs by confirming tonight that you have committed to hiring a full-time TOSA dedicated to Parkside who will support, design, and implement a strong middle years program and the TK5 program expansion. And please also answer what budget has been allocated to expanding the current program and developing the middle years program. We parents deserve to know how exactly the district plans to support their own renewed decision in October to expand the Montessori program at Parkside.
Hello, Dr. Rosas and the San Mateo Foster City School Board members. My name is Rebecca McGahee, and I'm a proud parent of 2 Parkside students, Maddie, who is a 3rd grader, and Lydia, who is a 1st grader. I'm here tonight to also petition the district and the school board to follow through on their decision to build a middle years program at Parkside and provide the necessary resources to do so. It was clear during our first year at Parkside that a strong community of parents were keeping this school and program afloat. I was impressed with the dedication of the parent community, and we decided as a family to do whatever we could to help this program, our teachers, and our students be successful. I changed jobs and reduced my hours to dedicate more time to support Parkside. Over the past 4 years, I've volunteered more than 2,000 hours of my time, spent countless nights up until midnight, planning out art lessons, grading class homework, planning school events, and fundraisers. It's equivalent to a year's salary I've personally dedicated to Parkside already to make this school successful. That is hours and hours I spent away from my family and my own children to help support the other students at Parkside. And I'm not alone. There is an army of parents behind me and at Parkside who have done the same, if not more. We want to know when the district is going to support these programs, teachers, and students with the same level of commitment as our parent community. I'm happy to continue to dedicate my time, but I'm not a trained educator, and I need to know that the necessary funding and resources are being provided by the district to ensure this program is successful. Parkside is a school with special day classes, preschool classes, a private preschool on campus, and a new Montessori program in which 8 out of 11 of our teachers are in their 1st or 2nd year, and only 1 of those new teachers is Montessori trained. Based on the latest round of test scores, Parkside's current students are underperforming compared to North Shoreview, compared to other schools in our district, and compared to the state of California. In addition to training new Parkside staff and raising the performance of our current student body, Parkside is also growing a TK5 program and adding a middle school, all at the same time. We are being set up to fail if it is not acknowledged that extra support is needed to accomplish this. We've asked repeatedly that Parkside receives a full-time TOSA dedicated to the expansion of the Montessori TK5 program and middle years development. We've been told repeatedly that this is in discussion and it's being worked on, but I would like to hear confirmation at a board meeting that this position will be approved and funded through the first few years of program implementation. Without this extra support, our current TK5 program will fail to improve. Our middle years expansion will fail again. We will struggle to retain talented leadership, and we will continue to have the highest turnover of teachers in the district. If that sounds extreme, it is not. This has already happened in Parkside's history, and the ones who suffer are our students. As a project manager for over 15 years, I've never seen a project kicked off without an understanding of what the cost will be and how the required funding and resources will be secured. You've gone through 6 months of option analysis.
Can you please wrap up?
Yes.
Thank you.
You've gone through 6 months of options analysis to decide to have 2 separate campuses and proceed forward with expanding Montessori. Your decision's been made. Months have passed. I want to see where is the budget, where is the plan, and where are the resources to ensure success. I look forward to attending the school board meeting on January 30th and hearing exactly how the district is going to fulfill their commitment to build a quality TK through 8 Montessori program for the students at Parkside. Thank you.
The next group of speakers are Conley Murphy, Jill Pavir, and Winnie So.
Good evening. My name is Connolly Murphy, and I am a parent of 2 Parkside students in 4th and 1st grades. I'm here tonight as well to petition the district and school board to follow through on your decision to build a middle years program at Parkside and to provide the necessary resources to do so. Specifically, we have 2 asks. One is for a district-funded TOSA to lead and implement the middle years expansion, and 2 is for greater clarity and transparency regarding the budget that will be allocated to support Parkside's continued growth. It was about 5 years ago that the school board first voted to build a middle years program at Parkside, and then this past October, you all re-upped on that decision and again approved the expansion. However, we have heard little to nothing in the intervening months, in the intervening years, really, in regards to what the specific plan is and what funding will be allocated to support that plan. As I'm sure you are aware, middle schools do not materialize out of thin air. As dedicated and as talented as he is, Mr. Tahai already has more than a full-time job leading our TK through 5 program, and a middle years program cannot be built on parent volunteer hours alone, if only for the reason that we are not trained educators. Additionally, Parkside's middle years expansion will have ongoing needs. As opposed to our community having to ask and fight and email bit by bit, piece by piece, as those individual needs arise, doesn't it make much more sense for all of us to have a clear understanding of what the overall budget is so we know what we're working with? That is why we're asking for clarification and transparency on what funding will be allocated to support our school's expansion. In closing, I will say that I truly believe the time is now or never for the district to comprehensively and not just in theory support Parkside's expansion. In 1 year's time, I, along with other 4th grade families, will be making the decision about where to send my son Parker to middle school. 1 year is an extraordinarily short amount of time to build a robust middle years program. It is an outright impossibility without a full-time TOSA and adequate financial resources dedicated to it. The next time Parker asks me whether Parkside will have a middle years program for him, as he does on an almost weekly basis, I hope that I'm able to give him a confident and affirmative answer. Thank you for your time and for your work on behalf of all our students.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jill Pavir. This is our 5th year at Parkside. I have children in 1st and 4th grades. When we moved from San Jose, we chose San Mateo specifically for the Montessori program at Parkside. We chose Parkside over our highly rated traditional neighborhood school because we strongly believe in the Montessori philosophy. Unfortunately, our 4th grader has had only 1.5 years of instruction with a trained Montessori teacher at Parkside. Our 1st graders class this year is a straight Common Core class taught by a traditional teacher with no Montessori materials or instruction available at all. Only about 1/3 of Parkside's teachers have a Montessori credential. As the other parents have said, this shows the district's failure to support this specialized Montessori program. Parkside needs robust and concrete district support now more than ever. We have an excellent new principal with the experience and willingness to lead, but he is not a magician. The district has an obligation to the children, the parents, and the taxpayers to hire a full-time, district-funded, Montessori-trained TOSA for Parkside, both for the lower grades and for the planned middle school. Without this commitment, the district is clearly choosing to make Parkside fail. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Rose and all the trustees. My name is Winnie So. I'm with my daughter, Allison. She is in kindergarten class. I remember last year, I was in the kindergarten information night. I'm excited to hear about the Montessori program. 8 minutes walk from my house. And I'm so excited that the middle school program will be expanded as well. I start the school year. I learned that the school district had tried several times to expand the program. It seems like this year they have another energy to start the program again. I have hope. I'd like to share a quote from Albert Einstein. I think this quote summarizes well how I feel and some of the parents feel. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. So far, I have not heard the exact plan to allocate funding, full-time resources to expand the program. If you do the same thing, this is exactly the quote will happen. I ask you to formalize the funding plan, full-time resources to expand the program. Thank you.
We have 4 more speakers: Chris Stallings, Josh Turner, Stephen Davis, and Fred Bear.
Okay, hi. My name's Chris Stallings, and I'm a parent of 2 boys at Parkside Elementary School, Henry and Linus in 2nd and kindergarten. Of course, we are so pleased that the district has committed to make the middle years program, and of course, we're hoping it turns out differently than last time, and I won't repeat much of what other people have said. Okay. Okay. Anyway, what do we have already? We have an amazing principal, and we have an incredibly active PTA. I've been an educator for 26 years, and I've seen principals come and go, and I've seen PTAs that are incredibly ineffective. And I can't tell you how impressed I am with Mr. Tahai and with our PTA. Both of them are really something special. But without a full-time TOSA dedicated just to help our school expand its Montessori program, it's not going to happen. And yes, of course, you have so many people asking for money for so many different things, and it, of course, is a limited pot. And I just want to point out that this is not an unprecedented request. In the high school district, 17 years ago, Hillsdale High School asked for additional funding on a temporary basis to start what's now become a nationally recognized small learning community school. Sure enough, just like they said, after a few years, it was self-sustaining. I really think that we have almost all the pieces we need to make this a similarly self-sustaining and nationally recognized program if you can give us just a little bit of extra help to get out of the blocks. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Josh Turner. I have a 4th grader at Parkside and an older child that went to Parkside. So we've been here for a while, since 2011. I stood in front of this board 5 years ago when we were fighting for the existence of our school. And unfortunately, I'm here again. In Parkside's current incarnation, our family only has another year and a half here. So I have much more at stake in a middle years program than I do in the younger grades. And I would love to see an exciting and robust 6th grade opportunity at Parkside for my daughter. But I honestly believe that there is no chance of a successful middle years expansion without addressing some of the challenges Parkside is currently facing. Our family's been lucky. Our children have had nearly universally Montessori trained teachers. But that's not the case for many families. Some who have not had a single Montessori trained teacher in their entire time at this supposedly Montessori program. This is not okay, and is not a way to lay groundwork for expansion. After going through multiple principals in the last 5 years, we finally seem to have in Mr. Tahai one who is willing and able to lead the process of rebuilding this program. And we as a community will give as much support as we can. But all of us at Parkside, both faculty and families, need to see that support from the district. How do we hire and retain teachers? How do we recruit Montessori-trained teachers or incentivize teachers to become certified? These aren't challenges for a parent community. These are your challenges. And they are challenges that will only be greater if the program expands. We, as a parent community, are gearing up to put a lot of time and effort into supporting this effort, but we need to see your support and your commitment. And it has to be for the entire program, not just for an expansion. Thank you.
Madam President, may I ask a question? Are there any further speakers for Parkside? Okay. I need to interrupt for just a minute and make sure that you are aware. Nima Tahai, David Chambliss from Ed Services, and I have met several times to write the plan for this program, and it is for the development of the K-5 side of the house and the expansion of the middle school. And we're finalizing those details, which Nima will share with his families and we will bring to you at the next meeting. Does include funding, and so there will be that update coming to you. It does include coaching, and it does include the need for teacher certification. So I feel that it's important. I know we don't normally respond, but I felt that you should know that since there was so much comment here. Thank you.
Three minutes, Stephen.
I'll speak fast, Noelia. Trustees, I am here to address your proposal to install an interior fence at George Hall Elementary School in the wake of a student with disabilities eloping from campus this fall. While I have spoken previously as a parent, today I'm speaking to you based upon my 34 experiences as a security professional. I've done a lot of stuff for a long time for a lot of people, from big companies to small, and governments to anything. Based upon the publicly available information, there were 4 security failures or safety failures: a failure of staff to provide appropriate supervision for their student, a failure of perimeter security at the school, a failure of procedures to respond to the incident by school personnel, and a failure of our community outside the school to help a wayward child. None of these would seem to be addressed by installing an interior fence. I have some immediate suggestions for your consideration that will cost you little or nothing. I also have a child with disabilities with a one-on-one aide who has a history of eloping both in school and out. I know this problem well, and I continue to worry about it. 1, require all paras and one-on-one aides to check their cell phones at the front desk at the school during the school day. 2, make management responsibility clear for contract aides and others that the school principal is their manager and responsible for all direction and accountable for their adequate performance of their job. This is quite nebulous today. 3, review all contracts to ensure that adequate expectations and accountability for performance are and clear reporting are built in for these contracted providers. 4, make sure that all paras and aides have adequate breaks. Focused work with any child for any length of time is challenging. I also have some longer-term solutions to ensure that incidents such as these are less likely in the future. No system is ever perfect. 1, a real independent review of this incident to determine what happened, both how the student got off campus and how the system responded to the incident. This should include representatives to color the school and community and perhaps some outside knowledgeable support, including local law enforcement or social securities, with a goal not of assessing blame, but of understanding what actually happened and make recommendations for every school in the districts to avoid such incidents in the future. Though this happened at Hall, it could happen anywhere. And 2, an ongoing district-wide process for principals and others to review incidents at any school, as well as incidents that occur outside of our district, to ensure that every school has a plan, clear procedures, and that everybody knows what they should do. 3, perhaps the most disturbing part of this incident was not the school or the district's responsibility. A young boy wandered a good distance from San Mateo along a major road, Hillsdale, and crossed a major intersection. I think they must have gone past a police station. He must have been seen by dozens of our fellow citizens at least, and no one apparently stopped to help him. This should scare every parent. The district should call on both San Mateo and Foster City, the city councils and other agencies, to work together to investigate what went wrong and to educate our citizens of our collective responsibility to each other. and to look to other systemic issues that this may have exposed. I'm in the process of reaching out to local law enforcement because I've dealt with this personally because I have a child who elopes, and the system does not work. But the weight of your voice on this issue would be invaluable. I look forward to your action on this matter. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Fred Bear, and I appreciate the passion of the Parkside group here. I serve, and I'm speaking as an individual tonight, but I serve on your Measure X committee, and I'm also the chair of the Foster City Park and Recreation Committee, just to give you the background of where I'm coming from as an individual. And that's important. We understand that you all, as trustees, have been asked to endorse the upcoming $385 million San Mateo Union High School Bond Measure L. And I am in support of that. However, and I've always supported school bond measures, but it's important to ask that bond funds be appropriated equitably throughout the district for the benefit of all taxpayers, and that's a few points I want to make tonight. The San Mateo Foster City School District and the San Mateo High School District have unfortunately adopted different formulas for spending bond funds. That's their prerogative. Your district determined its last bond election that bonds would be expended proportionally, approximately between its member cities based upon population. That has limited the amount of funds spent in Foster City, and I'm not questioning that, just making the point here. The San Mateo High School District, however, does not follow this allocation principle, okay? And no high school money has ever been allocated for facilities originally promised to Foster City when it joined the district. Not your issue, but it is a part of the bond coming up. That's the point. We might note that the population of the cities of Foster City and San Mateo together, basically what you represent, make up nearly 60% of the high school district, which is important. Foster City's population alone is approximately 15%. I've researched some of these figures, and they're based on the high school district's population figures. So if you just took that 15% population figures, not the high assessed value in Foster City, not trying to pinpoint that, Foster City taxpayers in the two previous bond measures of the high school district have spent approximately $75 million for recreation and classroom facilities in other cities in the district, including San Mateo. So the new bond measure would bring that total closer to $140 million. I think you can see where I'm going here. The allocation combination has left Foster City as the largest city in the state without any full-size public school gym or performing arts or multicultural center or swimming pool, and of course any high school charter or otherwise. So I'm just asking that we try to get a fair approach here and that you request with any bond endorsement you make for the bond issue that it be appropriated equitably with a fair share for the long-promised and missing facilities in Foster City. That will also help this district, obviously, because you're doing everything you can and can't do everything Foster City needs. Foster City can't build a new recreation center and all the things they need on their own. We have to all kind of work together cooperatively, and that's why I've kind of brought this information to your attention, that we've got to find ways, and as you can see, Foster City kind of gets left out there on its own, and it's not your fault, okay? But we need to get your support for this, and that's my point tonight. Thank you very much.
No. Moving on, public statements related to agenda items, persons will be called on at the appropriate time. Moving on to foundation and committee reports.
Can I go? I'm ready. On Monday the 6th, there was a professional development day, and I specifically attended the special ed training. And then in the beginning, I was only there for the morning half. It was a great way for the whole entire team to be together and discuss their views. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stay for the breakout sessions. Then on last Monday was the PTA council meeting. And that's just fun because all the schools are together. And then last night was the CDAC. And there were parents, principals, gen ed, and sped staff that participated. It was a very well attended, I think. And they met in small groups, answered some questions, and discussed their ideas regarding special ed. And the CDAC team is going to take that info and build on it. And in addition to that, they are working on bylaws so they can become an official committee. So thank you.
Go. I was at the Ed Foundation meeting on Monday. So lots of good things. They had an opportunity to review the budget, so just kind of talking about the various ways that some of those items have increased. So they've seen things like increase of stock donations and increase of individual contributions at the end of the year by things like Giving Tuesday and just like end of the year donations. So that's great. Lots of upcoming events. So the readathon is kicking off on the 25th. I believe that's next Saturday. There will be 2 events, one at the Foster City Library from 2 to 3:30 and one at the San Mateo Main Library from 6 to 7:30. So those are all on their website and have fun themes. The San Mateo one's pajama and the one in Foster City, I think, is piggy and elephant. I don't know what those are, but sounds fun. They had some discussion just about work that they're going to do as a board, hopefully having a board retreat to do things like update their mission and vision, some planning around the Run to Fund, which, as we know, is going to take place on Memorial Day this year, and they are partnering with a Runner's Mind in Burlingame to host the 5K, just 5K. Not a 10K. ARM does not believe, I don't remember why, but there's something about the 10K. So that's exciting. And they have, I think I shared with you guys the proposal around the gala. So they've decided that they are going to allow me, and Trustee Hitchcock is going to be joining me in leading the effort around a gala. We have a tentative date of October 23rd. It's a Friday, so be sure to mark your calendars and save the date. This month will be focused on finalizing our venue, confirming the contract with the auctioneer, who is supposed to be incredible, was a principal for 30 years, so brings the education background into raising money. And so I'll be, updating you guys as we go forward with that. And then we have a San Mateo liaison meeting tomorrow, so I don't have updates on that.
Okay, I attended the PTA council meeting as well. I just want to note that there was a lively discussion amongst treasurers and our new CBO. So there will be some continuing discussions about just ways that PTAs can support the schools and how payments are made. And so I'm a treasurer there at the PTA as well, so that's interesting. But also there's going to be, or they're planning a parent education night. So I think that'll be later this year, and they're working out the details as to where that will be and what the speaker will be. But I think it would be great if we could all support and attend and help bring some good parent education nights to our district. So I'm excited about that. I also attended the communications committee, but I'm not going to talk about it because they're presenting tonight. So I'll just zip it, but it was fun.
So busy here at the beginning of the year. I also attended, we had my first LMI meeting. Actually, there was 2 meetings, one a planning meeting last week, and then a larger meeting at Baywood Elementary with all the site reps, I believe. And one of the great things about that meeting and just getting into LMI is we started talking about Measure V and the funds and how we are going to distribute the additional funds that we have left over. I wouldn't say leftover, but unallocated in terms of the budget. So the idea is it's really great. And the thought is we are going back out. There was some initial, in terms of how the Measure V funds are spent, the superintendent did go out and to all the site councils and talk to all the schools to solicit initial responses. And then the idea now that we've asked the site representatives is to go back to their schools and talk to their teachers, both classified and certificated, to really get a pulse on what they would like as well. And then I believe we're coming back very shortly, and hopefully within the next month have some sort of plan in place to figure out how the unallocated funds of Measure V will be spent for this upcoming year. Additionally, we can talk about Legislative Day, I guess. Talk about that in a second. Yeah, thank you. Okay. And then we also had Sanctuary Task Force today, which was also my first ever Sanctuary Task Force, which was great. In comparison to some other committees, we were really hands-on, and we dove into some policies that really looked at how we are addressing or not addressing students who need some additional support as it comes to immigration. And so I was very excited about that, and we are going to continue going forward, looking at policies as it relates to immigration. But one of the big sort of aha moments out of it is that there were a number of board policies that we have that we ask specifically, whether it's through registration or how we distribute information about what students' rights are in terms of being a sanctuary school district. And the idea is like, are we really actually following through with this? Do teachers and do parents and do people really know what our rules and procedures are and what the rights are? And as this has been in place for a year now, it's sort of just getting off the ground, but I do believe that the momentum is there. But I want to make sure we follow through and make sure that all of that everyone, both at the administration and the district office and the parents, it's well communicated that what the students' rights actually are and what parents' rights are as well. So it was actually very exciting. There are definitely issues that we need to address, and so we are, stay tuned because we're meeting in another month. Thanks.
So I did want to share regarding the Equity Task Force, we had a leadership meeting to select a new classified member for the task force. Our previous classified member had to move on because of some other goals that we had, both personal and professional, that will also be a great addition to our district. But so we selected Denise Fournier for that spot on the task force. She's a librarian at Baywood, a track and field coach at Burrell. Did it die? Oh, sorry. Nobody could hear me. Should I start over? Just kidding. Just kidding. So I know she's not here today, but I did want to just share that with folks. We're really excited to have her and the unique perspective she'll bring to the task force. Is this working? Okay. And then just in addition to what Ken said about the Sanctuary Task Force, another focus that we will be prioritizing for that task force is spending some time really thinking about the makeup of the task force. This task force was very different from our equity task force. It began more as an internal district task force because there were a lot of internal things that needed to be worked through first. But we are hoping to really have more community relationships, bring in parents, spend some time really thinking about who really needs to be at the table so that we can continue to build on the work that's already been done. So that will be coming hopefully, I want to say by the end of the school year. I'm pretty confident that can happen. And that is it for me. So we'll be moving on to announcements. Oh.
Communications is late.
No, that's a separate agenda topic that'll be coming. Right? Okay. announcements.
I was going to talk a little bit about the San Mateo County School Board Association meeting that we attended. It was Ken and Joan and I. It was a legislator forum. And so we spent an hour with, is that okay or no?
CSBA sharing?
No, this is the San Mateo, I wanted to do the video.
Go ahead.
That's okay. So we spent an hour with 3 of the candidates that are running for California State Senate District 13, and we got a chance to ask questions and hear from them about their priorities and their education platform. And then we spent another hour with State Senator Jerry Hill, Assemblyman Kevin Mullen, and Mark Berman. And again, we got a chance to ask questions and just hear from them about what's going on in the state and how they can help us advocate for education, housing, and transportation. But I also wanted to just kind of show you, oh yeah, you do the video. Okay. So the San Mateo County School Board Association is kicking off this informational only campaign called I Vote for Kids. And so they're asking people to sign up on their website. It's to receive information about things that are going to be on the ballot that are education related. They don't tell you how to vote. But they are asking for people to sign up. So we're going to share this little video with you, and you can go on the website if you're interested.
Here's why. California continues to be near the bottom when it comes to education funding for our children. Let's compare California's per pupil funding to some other states in the nation. Louisiana funds education at about $12,000 per student. Wyoming funds education at almost $18,000 per student. New York funds education at almost $19,000 per student. And Alaska funds education at almost $21,000 per student. While California funds education at just about $9,400 per student. California is one of the wealthiest states on earth, and funding levels don't even reach the national average. What can you do to help? The answer is really simple. Join iVoteForKids.com and take the pledge to vote for education. United, we can bring change for all our children via the ballot box. Parents typically make up a smaller percentage of the voter turnout. If we can activate enough parents, we can swing an election. Our goal is to create a strong block of voters in support of education, and to do that, we need you. Signing up at iVoteForKids.com only takes a minute. Figuring out which ballot measures affect education can be confusing. To help you make informed decisions, we will text you information. Together, we can make a difference for every one of our children. Go to iVoteForKids.com and take the pledge today. If you'd like to get more involved, please make a note in the comments section to sign up. There are all kinds of ways to help. Every vote counts. Pledge for kids today at iVoteForKids.com.
So I just want to follow up on that. This was definitely sort of a grassroots movement by our San Mateo County, other colleagues, other trustees, and other school districts. And so they're not, I guess it was reviewed legally. We can share this with everybody. We're not telling anyone how to vote. We are not telling you how to vote, but it's just an information sharing item. So if you are inclined, whether it's the March primary or the November election, there will be, I guess, text messages sent out, most likely with candidates who have a stronger educational background or vote for kids. So.
Great. Thank you so much. So I did want to share that the King Field at King Center will be having a grand opening on January 25th at 3 p.m. This is the King Field is actually one of the most utilized fields in the city of San Mateo, and they had been having to close it down for several months every year because of how much use it got. But now it has been upgraded, and it's going to be an all-turf field. And the reason why it's so exciting is because for the city of San Mateo and all of the kids that participate in AYSO. It was one of the most utilized fields for their practices as well. Not having access to it this past soccer season was difficult for a lot of teams. So the grand opening, they have like a special invitation to all AYSO parents. And so a lot of our community uses this field. It's going to be reopening. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew about that. And then I did just want to note that this is a new year. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm really excited for this, last half of the school year and all of our students who are growing so much every day. And also, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday was on the 15th, so happy birthday to him. And yes.
Other announcements? Can I just jump in?
Yes,
If the district office doesn't know, I'm sure they know, but the Kent Awards applications are due in February. And so I know that I went to the Kent Award dinner last year, and I was blown away by some of the other things that other districts are doing in our county. And I know we do great things here too. So I know we've been winners before, but I'd love to see us up there as well. Also, on Tuesday the 21st, I think you guys all got emails. There is the Home for All Educator Housing meeting. I'd encourage everyone to go if you can. This meeting actually, in comparison to where it's just been the school district folks meeting, we now have a meeting with a lot of our city representatives through either planning or on the city council attending these meetings as well. So it is a joint effort to try and figure out not just educator housing, but also affordable housing. And this meeting will hopefully address or possibly come up with some solutions. Not the solution, but maybe a small solution for us all.
We'll be moving on to our proposed consent agenda. Do I have?
So I did need to pull 611 off of the consent agenda for today. All the others can go forward for your approval. Thank you.
Great. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of 611.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Moving on to our communications update.
Excuse me. Good evening, President Corzo, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Rosas. My name is Diane Willoughby, and I am the Coordinator of Community Services at the San Mateo Foster City School District. Sorry. Thank you for the opportunity to present the work of the Communications Committee to you. I am joined in this presentation by my fellow Communications Committee member, Christy Poles, who is the president of the PTA at Abbott School. If I could take a moment to just share with you the purpose I'm going to literally read the purpose of the Communications Committee. It's to support the district's goal of timely and accurate communication to all district constituents and to promote our schools. At our meetings, the committee members raise issues, and then we discuss how to tackle those issues at hand. And we also broaden our thinking to look at the underlying issues and causes of those particular issues. In this way, we look at whether there are process issues or systemic issues and work to keep the entire district, all 20 schools, our child development, our after-school program, and our district and our sites.
Hello, as I was introduced, I'm Christy Pulls. I'm Abbott PTA president, and I have been on PTA boards for 9 years now. And communications is very important to me. I've helped launch 2 PTA websites. I've managed weekly folder processes with approvals and content creation, and allowed our PTAs to take online payments, that kind of thing. So engaging with the parent population is definitely communicating to them has been a forte of mine at my PTA unit level. That said, I am honored to be a part of this committee because I think it's nice that the school district is emphasizing communications. And as you can see, the list of our committee members, we're a very diverse group. We pull from principals, teachers, school district employees, school board members, and parents. So that diverse background and experiences, I think, makes this committee pretty strong. Do you go to the next one? Sorry, I don't want to touch your computer. Okay. We have been meeting monthly this year, which our dates are right there. I just had one. I'd like to speak a little to last year's because I was on the committee for a portion of last year before Diane joined us. And the focus last year was really the school-to-home communications. We established 3 goals last year. One first was consistent messaging from across all schools from the school to the families. And the second goal was to ensure that teachers had the systems in place and the training to do so. The third was our websites, make sure they're up to date and they're being utilized and hopefully highlighting our schools. Now, how do you make that go down? Sorry. I'm so sorry, you can't get good help these days. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for your help. Scroll here. Okay. Well, I can pretty much talk to goal number 1. We made a lot of progress in establishing expectations with our principals for monthly and weekly communications. And we supported them by providing a newsletter template and best practices. But as we went forward, we ultimately decided it was the consistency of the communications that was to focus on and not necessarily the vehicle or how they were. And then we, at the district level, there were more consistent newsletters sent out and opening of Aries portal that fall, if you recall, last year. Then the majority of our time, though, was spent on goal number 2 with the teacher-to-parent communications. Before we could improve it, we needed to understand it. So surveys went out to principals and teachers to see what they were using. And I'd say our biggest takeaway there was how complex and diverse it really is. Class Dojo, if you've heard of it, which I know you have, it stood out as it stood out. And so the rest of our time last year was actually spent learning from teachers who use Class Dojo so we could get a better handle on it because it was at least the clear leader in this big, diverse set of tools. Given that we worked on that, admittedly, we did not get much to the websites. But we were proud of the groundwork that we laid with our goals number 1 and 2. And I feel like that laid a pretty strong foundation when we underwent a transition in our leadership. Now I'm going to hand it back over to Diane because she's now 1920.
Okay, so before I go on to goals, I really want to just briefly go back to Christy's words on the committee. I've only been here, this is my 4th month. And I am so impressed with the group that's been assembled before I got here and the work that they've already done and the support that I feel. And they're committed to communications, and they're not committed to one sole issue, and they don't come in with an agenda. They have come in to solve problems, and I feel so fortunate to work with them. So looking at goals, over the rest of this presentation, you're going to hear me talk about these three things. Websites, websites, websites. Building capacity, which is, I think, a little bit about why our websites are where they are, and expanding our role in marketing. So our public websites are whoops, I went too far, sorry. I'm getting too ahead of myself. So our websites, both our school sites and our district website, are in fact public facing, and they have to represent us. And right now they are out of date. And if you've looked, it's clear we have some catching up to do. So that is why that's goal number one. When we thought about why we were in the situation we were in, it really became clear that capacity building was really important for us as we go forward. So building capacity through training and through district office communication support is important so that there are more people across the district who can support this effort and feel the confidence to do so. Lastly, Christy mentioned that we were heavily focused on school-to-home communication. While we really know that there's still work to be done there and we have to remain diligent, we feel that we're ready to kind of start expanding our thinking in presenting who we are as a district and getting the word out. And these are more medium goals. In my opinion, we always have to tell our families the need to know, and it's also important to tell them the nice to know. So we really want to get to the point where we're starting to tell them who we are and get excited about the district. So building a marketing strategy is a huge initiative, and we're not ready to undertake that. So we're targeting 3 different areas, and we want to do it in a way where it's manageable and set some reasonable goals. So there are third-party sites out there that are talking about us right now, and we need to invest some time in owning those. That needs to be our messaging. So sites like Great Schools and Niche, they're tied to sites like Zillow, where our people coming in and buying homes here or living here are immediately looking at who we are, and we're not controlling those sites today. So that's an effort. Next, we have an incredible opportunity over the course of the next year to celebrate our facilities and to thank all of those who supported Measure X. So we as a committee have been talking about the ways to do that through community building events, ribbon cutting events, and we will start next month. I've already started reaching out to the principals to get some energy around volunteer teams to work on those parties. And lastly, we listed school brochures because they're hugely helpful as a marketing tool, especially at open houses. But after yesterday's meeting, we talked also through the committee that they're excited about awakening again our social media strategy and our platforms. So we will build that some more in the spring. I've been enticing people with some Facebook posts a little at a time, hoping to build some energy, but I'm excited about building a longer term strategy for communicating who we are. I'd like to mention, it's not on the slide, but at this moment, that these are the goals of the Communication Committee, and I look at them as initiatives, and I hope that it can spend a moment telling you a little bit more about what district communication does every day. So I handle publications at the district, our regular publications that really got established last year, including the newsletter, and I'm working on my first community report, and I'm working with Joan and principals on correspondence on a regular basis. I'm involved in all emergency and urgent communication that goes out. So if there's a mountain lion sighting, I'm helping to draft those communications to let parents know what's going on. In addition, I'm really excited about partnering with my colleagues in the district in specialized areas such as special education and the night that happened the other night to be their partner in helping them develop better communications in their area. And so that was a really fun meeting, and I helped facilitate that. No matter what I'm doing, whether I'm doing my day-to-day or working on these initiatives, the first goal that I mentioned and the purpose of supporting the goal of timely and accurate communication to all of our families is my priority. So as I go through the work completed this year, it's going to give it to you a little at a time. Okay, you're going to hear these three things again. So we are building our organization. We have a great team. We hit the ground running in October. Excuse me. We did a really quick and dirty survey of principals and district office leadership and got their feedback on websites, school messenger, and school-to-home communications. They are pretty much divided. What we learned is that everybody's at a different state. We learned that training was essential and that some needed ongoing support. Capacity building, we're already tackling that. We have 11 sessions scheduled for the next 3 months. They are in School Messenger for both beginner and experienced user. We have district office website training, and we have school site training. I'm going backwards. Okay, so we dug in on the websites. We tried to look at what do we do, where are we, and how do we figure that out. And rather than pushing out a whole bunch of messages to principals saying, you have to fix this and you have to fix that, with a little bit of help from Christy and some support from the district office, I went to work on auditing every site. So we have completed now more than 13 website audits, and what we've come up with is a high, medium, low list of issues. That doesn't look at long-term design questions, but it really looks at what we're doing right now, and if a prospective parent went to the page, would they see that it's kept up and it's the current year and someone's paying attention. And so we are done with approximately 16 sites right now. And as part of that process, I'm communicating with the local site teams, and their teams are working on the remediation. A couple schools are already finished and cleaned up, and it's ongoing. So we're in the thick of it. We'll be mostly done with, we'll definitely be done with the audits in the next week and a half, and then we'll be working over the course of the few weeks after that in finishing the remediation. In addition, the district office website audit is almost complete, and we'll be doing the same process. I've already rolled it out to cabinet, and we'll be working with their webmaster teams to get those amendments done. So the next phase of work, what came out of the audit is also exciting. It's been really worthwhile time because as a part of doing this work, we've been analyzing what we have. We've been looking at 20 schools plus the district office and looking at where we are diverging, where some are utilizing the calendar and some are not utilizing the calendar. And so I've created a list of issues to bring back to the communications committee for us to talk about how we strategize going forward. And those are the larger, longer-term design questions that the committee will deal with. But they have come out of the audit, which is, hugely valuable. We will also, as a part of that work, develop a model for long-term maintenance, and we'll plan for 2021. So that's most important so that we can be ahead of next year. So next steps, more of the same. We're going to roll out our training this month through March. And as a part of reviewing the findings, we're going to build our best practices. So we're going into the spring and summer with a list of best practices. Okay, I'm kind of repeating myself. We'll finish the website audits, we'll complete the remediation, and we'll plan for 2021. And we will develop marketing goals as a team. Sorry, I'm not very good at this. And we will identify what our goals are to celebrate our facilities. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm open to questions.
Thank you. I have a question about, well, first of all, thank you guys for all of your work and the time that you're putting into this. I know it's a commitment, especially from those that, from the parent community and folks that you're going out of your way to take the time to really invest in our communication, which I think we've all acknowledged is something, we really want to hone in on, and that's why this was established, so thank you. I have a question about so I know there was a survey completed on what folks feel like is needed with regards to website, school messenger, school to home communication. Are you able to kind of give like some top level what came out of that?
I did. I can't reach it here, but I'll let you know. Approximately, with respect to the websites, approximately a third of the principals responded that they felt confident and had the staff to actually update the sites. I will tell you that just from where we are today, that everyone's site needs some amount of update, but we're feeling good, approximately a third. Another third of the schools responded that they needed specific help. So they needed training, or they weren't sure what kinds of things needed to be updated and wanted some guidance on what we were expecting to see. The other third really said, I don't know what what the goals are. I don't have time, my staff isn't trained, so we need to build that capacity. I will say that more than half have said that time is a problem. It's just, they can't get to it. It's the lowest priority. They do the principal's message and move on. And they're just being very candid and authentic with us. On the school messenger side, we got a range of answers because the school's sites do use school messenger in different ways. Some use it for texting their community to say a meeting is coming up, while others are using it only for emergency purposes. So that was the general feedback that we got.
Two more questions. One was, what is the anticipated timeline, would you say, for, I guess, bringing all of these things up to date?
For the websites?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll be done by probably, I would say, mid-February.
Oh, okay.
For the school sites, we might take a little bit longer for the districts, for some of the elements of the district sites. So there's a choices we're making, right? We want it to be up to date. We're also making choices about some content that maybe is outdated and just can be unpublished. We really want to put a good foot forward, but we bury ourselves, and websites have a way of becoming like a bush. They keep on growing and growing. And so I'm trying to take the pruning mentality and look at where we need to have pages and where we're disseminating that information through other means. Mm-hmm. I have a general feeling that our websites are mainly for prospective parents, and that there's communication channels set up at the school for them to get day-to-day information. I would say that they do go to the site for lunch information, they do go for schedule information, but the day-to-day information they're getting through other channels. So if we think about who our users are, then we can focus in on what needs to be there.
Yeah, I appreciate the pruning. Sometimes less is more. I guess my last comment / question, which potentially goes against the pruning, is I'm curious if where board communication would fall under this. So things like when there are meetings that we know are of high topics that we know are of high interest to our community. Where that potentially falls in this, if that's something that's been discussed at all.
It hasn't been discussed, other than the fact that I know that it is kept up to date in the Board of Trustees section. What we haven't really done or talked about at the moment is prioritizing to say this is a big meeting, or it has specific high interest topics on it and we want to generate more energy around it, and we can have that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to, and this we can discuss if other folks are interested, but just from kind of, I know, feedback that I've personally gotten, I think that would be something that would be really useful, because I think that sometimes there are high interest topics that people don't know about, and we're really, I know, as a board, invested in hearing from the community about a variety of topics. So if that was something, again, I know that you're trying to kind of streamline and really focus on particular aspects so that you can actually move forward, but if that's something that can be integrated into the work, I would love to see that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be part of the Communications Committee, although I'm sorry I did not attend the last meeting. I really appreciate your interest, Diane, in working with the committee and just making it smooth. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your presentation and for all of your work. It's really exciting to hear how focused the work has become, and you guys are really just checking things off. And I think February is like an amazing, it seems really, it's like next month, it's in a couple weeks. So that's exciting to hear. I did just have a question about, my question is, was there any information gathered around whether some or all information is made available in other languages? So for example, like, do the websites have a bilingual capacity?
Yes.
They do?
They do.
Oh, okay, great. Is it the Google Translate button?
No,
thing?
it's a translate button, or it might be the Google button. Yes, it is.
Okay, great. I just wonder if there's maybe a chance to send parents that might use that, like a special flyer or some, because I don't know that folks really know how to use that. So I'm really happy to hear that we have it, but just maybe something as simple as like a flyer to families so that they know that that's available to them. Because I know that some folks in our community don't really even use websites for the most part. Yeah, I know. I did notice that we've been doing like translating on our Facebook posts, so that's exciting, and I hope we can keep that up. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about the capacity building. Yeah, thank you so much for your work, and yeah, I'm excited to continue hearing about the progress that's been made.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I think it's great. The two things that I really sort of take away is when you came on to talk about the great schools and controlling the message to our community, because a lot of times, the way we're judged in some ways is stuff that's completely out of our control. And the idea that when you brought it up initially, hey, we should look at these websites, and do we have an ability to actually either add content or control it a little bit, or even encourage other people to provide content on it, I think is a great suggestion, because a lot of times, people will go to these outside third-party websites to actually look at how the district is doing. And I think we do some amazing stuff, and I think it would be great to control that if we can, or at least add to it. The second thing is the facilities projects. I mean, it is a great idea in terms of we have these, because of Measure X, or we have these abilities where we're going to have 3 new gyms that are going to be opening up with classrooms shortly. And the idea is there an ability for us and the new school? Obviously, we did some outreach with that, but using that as a way to build community, and parent participation within the schools, because there's nothing that's more exciting. I was talking to Mark Sherrill. I'll call him out because he's not here. Because at our last board meeting, when they did the presentation and talking about the tours of the students, the middle school students, and just how amazing it was. I mean, those are just some really great, good feeling, projects, and it would be a great community building effort. And whether it's internal for the school or the overall surrounding community, I think it'd be great and it would be a shame to lose that opportunity. So I hope we do something great there.
We will, and we'd love your input, the whole board.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for letting me join the committee. I really enjoyed my first meeting. I like all the work that you're doing. I'm also very excited about the social media stuff that you're going to get to eventually. I think as younger parents are coming in and looking at our schools, I think that's the way that they communicate. And I'd love to see eventually down the road maybe some little videos and things that people, when they go to the website, it's not just all reading, they could watch some experiences or, even some of these events that you're planning we can refer back to. And I also am excited about the community events that you're planning. I think it's really important to show the voters and the community what the taxpayers' money went towards and really be proud of the work that's been done in our district. So I'm excited to see those and give feedback and ideas. So thank you.
Kind of to Ken's point, I'm wondering if, as we are planning ribbon cuttings and community gatherings to show the community our new projects, if we can have like some kind of opportunity to lay some groundwork for things that might want to happen things that should happen in the future. So, as we have our community come and celebrate and see our new facilities, if they can they will walk through our older facilities that need updating, but maybe something special just to emphasize that a little more, because it's there are still things that we want to make sure our voters know that our schools and our kids need.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to CSBA Annual Education Conference information sharing. I can just start really quickly. So, as you may have noticed now, I'm feeling a bit under the weather, as I was during this conference, which I still attended, just like I am here now. So I wasn't able to attend everything that I would have liked to, but I will just kind of highlight a few of the ones that I did attend. I got to attend a presentation on community partnership on equity policy development. This was from a district called the Corona Norco Unified School District, and their equity work was at that point over a decade in the making. So it was really exciting to hear about how those concerted efforts really progressed over time and kind of was informational in terms of where we can hope to get in the future as we continue our equity work. I also attended, let's see, there are so many things that I wanted to attend. Lessons in implementing equity that was run by Nicole Anderson, who our district is already working with. So I got to hear from several different districts in terms of, again, their work on equity and where they were in the process. One of the key points that I remember from a board member in, I want to say the Sacramento area was, and I'm not going to remember it exactly, but basically she stated that when it came to, decisions big and small, that, she would always just kind of reflect and ask herself, is this, improving opportunities for all of our students, or is this taking away from that? So that was something, a key takeaway for me. And then I also attended developing a workshop
called Developing an Early Learning Framework in Order to Increase Learning Opportunities for All Students. This one was the Santa Ana Unified School District. They did a lot of work in partnership with their county and their neighboring city councils and cities. So it was really, interesting to learn about how key those partnerships were in helping them, support their students. So I'm going to wrap up.
Okay, so this was my first time going to the conference, and I went on the first day for the new school board member orientation with Joan, which was great. I learned a lot about trustees' roles and governance, so that was good information. And a part of the day we talked about just different situations and CSBA best practices, and it was good to know. Joan was right next to me, and she said how we do it here, and it pretty much matched all the best practices, so that was comforting to know and a great sign, so that was good. And then day 2, I went to a couple different sessions. So one of them was called Riding the Social Emotional Roller Coaster. And so Sylvan Union Union School District in the Modesto area just talked about their road to getting more involved with social emotional learning. And they talked about how it's a process and not an event, and it's not curriculum, and it's not just for students, but it's also for adults. And so it was just a good reminder about how they took this process, and they added a lot of staff to their district, but they did it in small chunks. So they would do a couple people at a time, and really just using people's unique skills to fill the areas they needed while they were kind of building this up. And I liked that they talked about needing to create learning environments which allow for strong, long-term relationships for children to become attached to school and to the adults and other children in it. So it's all about building bonds and prioritizing relationship building. So I thought that was great. There's a video called The Power of Relationships in Schools, which is a good 3.5-minute video. I won't share it, but you can Google it if you want to see it. But it was helpful. The next one I attended was called Closing the Achievement and Opportunity Gap with Edward James Olmos. And some of you may recognize him as an actor from Miami Vice, Stand and Deliver, and Selena. And so his program is, it's kind of a unique one. I just thought it was cool to share. It's called the Youth Cinema Project. And it's a project-based learning program that focuses on equity, social, emotional empowerment, and closing the opportunity gap by giving students the opportunity to learn through filmmaking. So this, they focus on 4th graders in Title I schools, and they teach students all aspects of filmmaking from writing a script to acting it out, and filming, directing, editing, and promoting their film. So I thought that was just kind of a cool one to get some inspiration from, and some schools up and down the Bay Area and California use this program, so that was good. And then next I went to the school district budget roadshow, which Ken, I think, is going to talk about, but I thought it was a cool one, and so I'd like to see it. Day 3, I went to the one called Equity for Students with Disabilities, What Governance Teams Should Know. And so I pulled a few slides. I was going to show them, but I could just kind of walk through them to save some time. But they were just good reminders about how, our district is focusing on all students, and in particular, the special education students with CDAC. And so it was good reminders to just read through and listen to what these folks had to say. And so there was a couple of quotes I just wanted to share. So the California Education Code says each child is a unique person with unique needs, and the purpose of the education system of this state is to enable each child to develop all of his or her own potential. Just good reminders to keep there. And then they gave a lot of statistics just about students with disabilities in the state of California. They said there's 795,000 students with disabilities. They make up 11.6% of the total student population in the state. Majority of them are boys, 26% are English learners. So just lots of statistics that I think are important to also keep in mind. And, they talked about inclusion and all the stuff that we're really working towards in this district. So I really enjoyed that presentation. The next one I won't bore you with. It was Brown Act do's and don'ts. I just thought as a new school board member I should learn about that. But I just wanted to close on something that I was reminded of, and it wasn't in any of the sessions that I attended. It was really, there was 2 general sessions. And so one of them, the first one, there was a high school group of dancers that performed dances that they choreographed. And then the second one was students in a jazz band in high school. And this boy got up and he sang one of my favorite songs from Dear Evan Hansen. And so it just reminded me, watching these students perform something, they clearly spent a lot of time working on this. They were proud of their work. And it reminded me that not all students come to school because they love math or they love reading. And so I just think that it's important to keep in mind that our goal is to provide opportunities for all students, and having interesting programming and support is really important. So that is my conclusion.
I'm gonna transition my update over here because I actually do have some stuff to show you guys. So I also attended the conference. This was my second conference. The first conference was in San Francisco last year, and as a new board member, it was sort of like, wow, look at all this stuff. Look at all the trustees all throughout the state. It was sort of very eye-opening. But the second conference, I will definitely say I got way more out of it just because I had been here for a year plus, and so there was a lot of things that I actually went specifically to, and then things that I actually went to sort of like as a growth mindset to learn about that was different. And so the first thing, I'm just going to share some highlights. I went to a facilities workshop. The first day, it was a half-day workshop where they talked about AB 48, which is now going to be Prop 13 on the March ballot, which I mentioned before in this room about how we will potentially lose $3 to $4 million because of the exemption of the incentive to build affordable housing near transit. And of course, the city of San Mateo has been building a lot of homes near transit, and all those developer fees we will unfortunately not get. But what's unfortunate is that during the conference, they also, CSBA, which we are a part of, the California School Board Association, formally endorsed the statewide bond. So it was difficult as I went up and talked to the proponents about it and said, hey, we're going to lose, X amount of money. And they sort of thumbed our nose at it and said, yeah, LA Unified is going to lose $40 million. And they were just like, deal with it, sort of. And so it was sort of a rural versus urban sort of mentality, and it was a difficult thing. But it is what it is. They also talked about facilities plans. There were some great examples of a really large facilities plan that was actually broken up into 3 or 4 different bonds. And so it might have been like $1 billion, but broken up into every 3 or 4 years, $300 million. And so I thought that was a great example. Also, they included solar and energy, as I mentioned in the last meeting. There is some really interesting topics going on at the state and the Department of Energy about solar and how, the energy, because the PG&E and the power, the PSPS, the power shut off, I'm never going to remember. Yes, I'm never going to remember that. Yeah, thank you. Because of that, the energy market is definitely going to change, and so there's going to be real opportunities for us if we decide to move our solar program forward, if we have one. The other thing is, one thing I definitely learned in the facilities workshop is that one board member can't do it all. So just like in our new liaison positions, it's great for us to sort of move around because as we bring different topics forward, it will be very difficult if one person has all the background. So if we constantly move around on the different liaisons, then we're all more well-informed. And so if we do decide to go for X or Y or whatever it is, then we'll all have more of a background. In terms of policy updates, there's 2 that I wanted to bring up. AB 272, which is the ability to, or the further ability to limit or prohibit smartphone use in schools. As we dealt with, San Mateo High School has that Yonder pouch where you have to lock up. It's a cell phone-free high school. And so there has been a real decrease in cyberbullying. There's been more decrease in discipline issues. There has been an increase in sort of the attentiveness of the students. And the thought is, while we are not at the high school level, sometimes those routines start at the middle school level where people get cell phones at an earlier age. And so we've all seen, as we've gone through the classrooms on our visits, the little cell phone pockets But the idea is there's something further that we might want to look at in terms of an actual policy. The other one dealt with undocumented students. One thing that I went to a sanctuary meeting, and as we approach the November election for 2020, the presidential election, there's going to be a big push for everyone to register to vote. And there was a new state law that passed not just maybe last year that stated that students or youth can start registering to vote at age 16, I think it is, or 17. But the idea is, and this is from an immigration law attorney, is that we have a number of undocumented students throughout the California, and some parents don't tell their students that, hey, you're undocumented, right? And so they might go through their whole life thinking, oh, this is fine. But the issue is that as soon as they get the big push maybe to register to vote, and then a few years later they decide, oh, I'm going to actually apply to be a citizen, essentially they have been breaking the law by saying that they have misrepresented the fact that they were a citizen of the United States. And they will be immediately barred from being a citizen from the United States. So I would just stress that as we go forward into this presidential election, especially at the high school level, that we're mindful that the recommendation was if we know families who may be undocumented or not, they should make sure to tell their children who are becoming age 16, so at least they know that they won't sort of accidentally misrepresent that they are U.S. citizens. And so that was sort of an eye-opener, and I just wanted to stress that, especially as we go into this election cycle. The one thing that I wanted to touch on, there's two multimedia presentations here that I want to show you. One, Alice and I went to the Budget Roadshow, and this was so the great thing about the conference is you get to hear about some really great things about what other districts are doing throughout California. And if we could just take a little bit of that and bring it back to our district, we'd be light years ahead of others. And so Solano Beach did this. They had a real partnership with the teachers, the district office, in terms of how do you really explain what the budget is in the school budget. And they actually went through, and I'm not going to show every picture, but they had a crew, and they went through and said, okay, we're going to train everybody about what is the budget. And they went to the teachers and said, okay, teachers, because they come up with lesson plans, how would you teach everybody else what the budget is? And so they went through with lessons plans, they talked about needs assignments, they did whole breakout sessions, and they basically were training this crew to become ambassadors so that they would then go ahead and teach others about what the actual budget was. And the great thing about it was just in layman's terms. They had a short video, there were some examples about how you explain the budget, and it was just really eye-opening in terms of how you can further build the bonds between the district office, the staff of the schools, and also the community as a whole, because ultimately, our parcel tax, Measure V, is a 9-year parcel tax, and we will have to go out at some point, unless funding changes at the state dramatically, we will have to, go back out to the voters. So there was that great thing there. And then lastly, I want to show this video. It is called, there is a school in San Gabriel, and they decided to go through, and the idea is that, we're just like any other government. We sort of copy other governments, and, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We might take something and then make it even better. But this was a school in San Gabriel that was a low-performing school, and they had this great idea of bringing music to the school, and it's called Music Immersion Experience. And this is a video explaining exactly what it is.
I play violin, electric bass, and guitar. I'm in a rock band, I'm in orchestra, and I'm in mariachi. I just love music. There's just no way for me to describe my love of music.
Every afternoon, the bell rings for students at Roosevelt Elementary, signaling the end of the traditional school day and the start of the Music Immersion Experience, or MIE, program. For all 386 students at this public elementary school, every day is Music Day. Using information from recent studies on music and the brain, as well as observing the positive impact of LC-STEMA programs around the world, the San Gabriel Unified School Board and administrative leadership committed to implementing this innovative form of intervention with the goal of closing the persistent achievement and opportunity gap that existed at Roosevelt.
Hi, my name is Christy Esparza. I've been a teacher here at Roosevelt for the past 8 years. I've been a teacher in our school district for the past 15 years, and I was one of the first members that went to Boston in 2015 to discuss and see what the future of MIE would be like. I remember back when we were in Boston and we were having late nights in our hotel just talking about this upcoming MIE program, and I know a lot of the talk was about, wow, what a long day that would be for the kids, and I was just concerned at the time, like, can the kids have that stamina to make stay in school that long? That stamina is paying off in the classroom for me. They love going to music. It's one of their favorite things to do. The climate at Roosevelt has shifted dramatically. The students are so happy to be here. It's just brought such confidence in students, and I can recall Giovanni, a former student of mine, who struggled in school, and I just recall him being able to design one of the designs for the music t-shirts and how proud he was to have that design on it, and it stuck with him. And I think those small gains that our students get, because of the music program is what's going to make them successful.
Every student in transitional kindergarten through 5th grade is assigned to a fundamental music period. Beginning in 1st grade, students learn the violin. Once they get to 4th grade, their options expand to woodwinds, brass, or additional stringed instruments. Students in 2nd through 5th grade have the option to join an additional elective period for even more music. They can choose between piano, guitar, ukulele, camerata, free band, rock band, percussion ensemble, dance, folklorico, handel choir, or mariachi, which extends to include middle school students.
My name is Faithfully Mendez. I am in 5th grade and I play the vihuela and piano and guitar, also violin. Since I was little, I heard a lot of people singing. I got curious, so then I told my mom that I wanted to join. So last year I used to sing some music. No. Nervous. I felt like I was going to do that. Like, I was going to do that. Not comfortable with it. Yes, I am, for sure. And how much progress they've made since I've been here. When I first got here, it was really hard for them to read a piece and play a piece, see that they get it. Now I'll put a piece in front of my class and they have it, like, by the end of the class, and it's almost perfect. They're understanding how to work together as a group to sound like one instead of working individually. They're able to problem solve.
So I'm going to just stop it there. There's a few more minutes of teachers actually describing what they do and how they bring it into the regular day classroom. And I'll just say, and then it wraps up at the end about why they did this. But the reason why I bring this up and the reason why I was so excited about it is this is a pilot project, immersion experience. So this is a 5-year pilot. And And what they did is they used it more basically to really, again, close the student achievement gap. And so their demographics is very similar to ours. And as you go through, see, they actually produce a report. And when you review the report, the best thing about, they have actual data that shows their enrollment was dipping and it went back up. They had their attendance stayed stable. Their discipline incidents dropped dramatically. And you can see it by grade here. In comparison to the other schools, they had a higher climate sort of survey in terms of kids wanting to be at the school. And also when it comes to math and science, all of their scores went up. There's a summary page here, but I'll just leave it at that. But basically the idea is that, I'm bringing this to the board not to say that we should do this now, because we have a lot of things going on right now, whether it's Parkside or whether it's the new school North Central or whatever it is, we have a bunch of things. But if we can just keep this in the back of our mind that, hey, we're a very large district in terms of we have 20 schools. We have magnet schools and themed schools where if there was a way for us to possibly do this, we might be able to help a school out, programmatically raise the bar, whether it's, reducing discipline, helping with student achievement, because there's all these studies about how music helps and affects the brain. So it is called Music Immersion Experience. There is a website there, and I can share that, but I just wanted to share that because that was super impactful to me because, it was something that, wow, could we actually do something like this? The last takeaway that I'm going to say as I walk back here is one of the other things is there are a bunch of school districts all throughout California who are in way worse shape than us. And it is surprising that we are very fortunate that the voters did pass Measure V because we would be in a whole world of hurt. And it is very evident when you go around and talk to the other trustees that, we may have issues and we hear the issues, but, in comparison to some of our other brothers and sisters, we're in a decent place. So, thanks.
I had just a couple comments from the seminar. There were a number of presentations about equity, and I did take down the different districts because the Equity Task Force may be interested in looking at what these folks have done over the past years. And also in our district, we have been looking at wellness, and Napa Valley Unified has implemented wellness centers. They are fiscally hard to sustain, but they've proven to be very, very important for the children and the families. So, so much so that they've foregone other programming. So I think that it's something we might want to look more at is wellness centers in Napa. And also, inclusion work was a signature theme, and there were several districts that spoke about inclusion. So when we do, as we continue to do our work, we do have some folks who are a little ahead of us. We might be able to connect with them too. So there were some folks that we will want to go visit. As an ending, CSBA offers a board self-evaluation tool. It's focused very much on the work of the board. So we've used some different self-evaluation tools, and I'd like to bring this one to you for you to look at, because you may want to use it at the end of the year as you finish up a first year together. Thanks.
So I wasn't there. I wasn't able to attend, but I did want to make one comment, I guess, about just CSBA, our attendance and sharing. So thank you guys to those of you that were able to come and for the information you were able to bring back. I guess my comment is maybe twofold. I'm very interested in how we formalize a process for how the takeaways get translated into action, because I think it's great to talk about it, but if we only talk about it at this meeting and nothing changes, then it doesn't seem like a good use of our investments, right? So, yeah, I think, Joan, I'd be interested from you to think about how can we take these learnings and are there things that we can implement immediately? And then I would encourage those of you that attended, if there's something that you feel like we should agendize in terms of actually talking about how we might transfer it into something actionable, to request that at the end. I mean, I think one example is kind of the presentation around the music immersion. I mean, while you're saying, it might not be something we do now, I mean, we are going to be having discussions about the North Central School, and this could be an idea on the table, right? And so I think that there are various things that each of you shared that could be things that we integrate. And I think that that's really important for us to think about how we take it from like this place where we're sharing it with each other to actually making impact in our district. So I think we can do that in two ways.
We will be moving on to naming process for the new elementary school in Foster City.
I'm Tish Bassell, advisor to the superintendent for Measure X projects. I look back, and it was just 3 years ago this week that we had our second very exciting planning meeting over the new school. And at that time, there was discussion about when are we going to name the new school? Well, the time is now before new elementary school in Foster City becomes its name for life. And I have just a personal story quickly about how that can happen. Long time ago, my parents added onto our house when it was good to have family rooms, and we called that the new room. And 25, 30 years later, we still refer to it as the new room. And my children say, it doesn't seem new to us. So we have all formed around calling it one name, which is not Charter Square. So it is now time to name it. And I think there are two goals. One, to get a name, and secondly, through the process, to engage both the school communities as well as the broader community in helping set a name for what will be the life of this school. And it is another way to touch that broader community, especially in something exciting and that doesn't take a lot of thought and a lot of effort on their parts to put in a nomination. So what you have outlined in the agenda item tonight is a timeline and a process by which we hope to end up in April with recommendations to you about the name of the school. Just to highlight, in case there are people in the audience who don't know, the district has a naming policy. I think it's one of the shortest policies you have, and it's very clear that elementary schools in general should follow the pattern of being named within their neighborhood, and that middle schools in general should be named for prominent deceased citizens, not predominantly deceased. And there are a few exceptions, which I pointed out within the district, but generally the criteria that we would want to put out is consistent with the board policy, which is that it be named for something related to the neighborhood and the surrounding community around the school. And we'll see what kinds of suggestions we get. Part of the process will be just not to put in a name, but also to say why that name would be important for this particular school. And so you can see the process involves a lot of community engagement through nominations, and we're going to set up a system for advertising that in the next week and a half, and getting it out there. And hopefully by the end of March, after the school naming task force, which will be made up of community members as well as staff members, and I think maybe a few students, will help in the naming itself and bring that to you with a recommendation of perhaps one or two names for you to chew on. So I'd be happy to answer any question. It's pretty simple.
Any questions? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to adoption of Parcel Tax Oversight Committee bylaws.
Well, good evening, everybody. So Tish talked about something that's simple. So in some ways, what we're bringing forward to you tonight for your adoption and review is a set of bylaws for the Oversight Committee for the parcel tax. So we're looking forward to convening that committee. So we provided to you a framework for folks to be selected. It goes through purpose, duties, frequency of meetings, types of reports, eligibility, length of term for these members too. So this is really a good thing for members to have when the committee first convenes. It helps focus them on what they're going to do for the community. And after you adopt these, we can bring back to you the names of individuals that we'll ask you to approve to be added to the committee. So the information is pretty straightforward. We work with county council to review the bylaws as well too. And so that's been reviewed for you as well as you. So it's our recommendation you approve of the bylaws, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Right.
Can I have a motion?
A motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to substitute teacher salary increase.
Good evening. We know that our substitute teachers really provide an important service as they are in our classrooms where our teachers are unable to return to work. So in recent years, we've really had difficulty in employing a sufficient number of substitute teachers because there is a local and state and national shortage. So the district conducted a substitute teacher pay rate survey, and it showed that the district's substitute pay is in the lowest quartile. Compared to 20 surrounding districts. So in an effort to attract and retain teachers, the district is proposing a pay rate increase for substitutes from our current day-to-day substitute pay from $150 to $180 a day. And then for our long-term and permanent substitute teachers from $185 per day to $225 per day to bring us more in alignment with our surrounding districts. In addition, we really want to provide an additional incentive to our day-to-day substitutes. Many of them work in multiple districts, and we want to provide an incentive for them to work in our district. And so what we are proposing is that any day-to-day substitute teacher that works for 15 days, beginning with the 16th day, that they will receive a $10 per day increase from $180 to $190, and that any day-to-day substitute who works 30 days or more, beginning with the 31st day, that they would receive an additional $10 at $200 per day. I respectfully request that the board approve the increase to the substitute pay, and it'll be effective retroactive to January 1st, 2020. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
No. Motion to approve the salary increase for substitute.
Are you making the motion? Yep. Okay, second.
Aye.
Aye.
On behalf of the district and our substitute teachers, thank you very much.
I would like to investigate possibly doing something where we can work with the community to get the budget, either a roadshow or some way that we can show it in a more understandable way and bring some transparency and clarity to the budget.
Second that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Statements or requests for future agenda items?
Just a statement off of what Shara said about the music program. I know that we have a lot of stuff going on, and that's why I didn't want to say let's do this, because it also takes three of us to do it. But it is something that we could think about, and I'd love for us to think about it.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Joan, can you just keep us informed about the George Hall fence update? Thank you.
Okay. Superintendent report and future meeting dates.
Well, it's getting late, so I won't make much of a report, and actually you have many, many dates listed that will keep you very busy, so I will not read those either, but they are in your packet. So Happy New Year, and let's get started.
Okay. Adjournment. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Me too.
too. Something is tickling my throat.